Hey everyone, welcome back to the Living in Maryland channel where we discuss all things living here in the great state of Maryland. So if that's the kind of information that you are looking for, then you are definitely in the right spot. Today, we are talking about some of the more random reasons why I like living here in the great state of Maryland. So we're going to jump right in. And as I mentioned, these are totally random. So, we're just going to get started here. So first thing that I like is, now you got to understand, for me, a lot of these things are based on where I came from. I grew up in Southern California for the first about 18 years of my life. Met my wife at a small college in Ohio, and then we decided to come back and live here. She was born and raised in Baltimore metro area. So that is where we are today, raising our two kids. So first thing is, you only need to register your car every 2 years. I know for me out on the West Coast, we did it every year. It was a pain to have to deal with the DMV every year and have to do that. Here, you only got to do that every 2 years. So you just less dealings with, they call it the MVA out here. The next item is our water bill. Our water and sewer bill is paid quarterly outside of the city. So if you're in Baltimore City, that's something you're going to pay every month. But all surrounding counties, all counties in Central Maryland, whether you're in Anne Arundel, Baltimore County, Howard County, Prince George's County, Montgomery, Frederick, it doesn't matter where you're at, your water and sewer bill is paid quarterly. And it's just nice because it's something you have to pay every 3 months instead of every month. And in my experience, it's pretty affordable. So I know out on the West Coast, I was paying usually somewhere between $75 and $100 a month. Out here, I'm usually paying anywhere from $100 to $125 a quarter. And again, that's your water bill, that's your sewer bill. Out here, we pay what's called the Bay Restoration Fund. So this is something that I wanted to talk about too, only because it's paid $15 and it's wrapped into your water and your sewer charge paid quarterly. Now, the cool thing is if you have a septic tank, everybody who's on public water and sewer is paying $15 a quarter towards what's called the Bay Restoration Fund. So Maryland is great about this. They want to make sure that people who have septic systems have the opportunity to get some assistance whenever they need a new septic system, right? And in Maryland, most people, if you're going to go replace a septic system, you have to put in what's called a BAT unit, the best available technology. You can get assistance if you qualify income-wise, which usually they have pretty high limits. So most people are going to qualify for this if you are in an area where you're on a septic system where you can get assistance. And a lot of times the state, through the Bay Restoration Fund, is going to pay for your new septic system. And the water, from what I'm told, the classes I've taken and the conversations I've had, the water that comes out of these new BAT septic systems can pass a potability test, which is just crazy. So it's better for the environment. It's a great thing that Maryland does, and everybody who's on Public Connection is contributing $15 a quarter towards that, which I think is, it's a good thing. So, and that's coming from someone who's got a septic system. So maybe I'm going to be able to utilize that at some point in the future. So now there's one other thing I want to mention here. Most people are going to be on Public Connection, but if you are someone who's going to be on septic, just be aware that from what the conversations I've had is that the Bay Restoration Fund will help towards and contributing towards a new septic system, but you've still got the drain fields aspect, right? So when you have a septic system, you've got the actual tank in the system, and then you've got the drain fields which is what absorbs the water that leaves the system. So from what I understand, the Bay Restoration Fund does not contribute or cover the actual drain fields. So that's something you want to be aware of, because that's a whole nother expense to an aging and an old septic system. So just, that's a conversation that we can have if you need to, but just something to be aware of, because sometimes people will be like, oh, I can get a free septic system, but then there's still that conversation of the drain fields, right? So just, I don't want to go on a tangent on that, but just something to be aware of when it comes to that. So something really cool that Maryland does that I like, and that's really cool about living here. All right, next is that fuel prices, gas at the pump, right? We are typically right around the national average, maybe a little below that, which is great. I still, when I'm talking to family, when I'm talking to people back home, it's just always crazy to hear how expensive gas is. And then I look, I'm driving around and I look up and we're just way below a lot of people on the West Coast. So gas prices, not too bad out here. Something for me, saved me a lot of money. and something that I thought was really cool. And then something that's not so random, I just love the four seasons here. So Maryland is really cool where it's not extreme weather-wise in either direction. We're always going to get cold every winter. Usually we're good for at least a snow or two here, depending on the year, although the last few winters, snow is not always guaranteed. The weather has proven that, but most winters we're going to get at least a couple snowfalls, a good bit of cold weather, and then our spring and fall here, the seasons here are just amazing. So something that I always love and have grown to love being here in Maryland, coming from the West Coast where we just didn't get those the full extent of those seasons. So something that I really love. Now, real quick, I am a licensed realtor here in Maryland. If you ever have any questions about buying, selling a home here in Maryland, if that's something that you're thinking about and if that's the right move for you, we absolutely love having conversations around that. Feel free to reach out however you are most comfortable, and we can have a conversation about what might be the best move for you. All right, next is trash pickup. And I know I mentioned in the beginning, these are totally random. So in California, when I was living there, they would have, so usually Waste Management was the company that would do trash pickup, and they had these systems basically on the truck that would come and pick up the can and dump it. So what that meant is that you had to, anything that didn't fit in that can, you had to order a special pickup, which was just a pain, right? If you wanted to get rid of anything that didn't fit in that can, it meant a phone call, dealing with the local company, and organizing a special pickup. Out here, they've usually got 1 to 2 guys on the back of the truck, and they're coming around picking up the trash. It is crazy how much stuff I've put out and they just take it. I mean, there's been so many times where I'm like peeking out the window and I'm like, I don't know if they're gonna take this, and they take it. So something that just makes my life a little more convenient, especially with kids and stuff. I feel like we're constantly, trying to get rid of, stuff, sometimes bigger things. I've set out, big parts of like play sets and stuff like that, outdoor play sets and stuff, and they take it. I've had clients in the past where sellers have just kind of loaded up their curb with stuff that they didn't want. And we show up for the final walkthrough and we're like, you guys got to get rid of this stuff. And they said, no, we confirmed with the county that they will take it, on the next trash day in a couple days. And sure enough, the people come and they take everything. So just something that I know that's totally random, but something that I appreciate because I like to get rid of stuff. I don't like to have stuff stack up in the house and stuff like that. So something that I thought was really cool about here living in the area. And last but not least, being so close to so many different areas. I know I've mentioned this in some of the past videos, but for me growing up, it was easier to leave the country, so to get down to Mexico, than to actually leave my home state. So something that I've appreciated living here in Maryland the last 9 years is just being so close to different areas. You got DC, Baltimore, just about 30 to 40 minutes, from most of central Maryland in either direction. So just having the dual metro areas so close. And then you can get up to Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Delaware, New York, you just so quickly, usually within a few hours or less, and to get into multiple different states from central Maryland, having access to the beaches on the Eastern Shore. We had a family wedding. So my sister-in-law got married up in New York City recently. So we drove and so that was fun, right? But getting to New York City probably took 5 hours, only because you can see the skyline within about 3 hours. You can get up there very quickly, but then getting into the city, we took the George Washington Bridge to get into, I guess, Manhattan there. And that was just crazy around Friday lunchtime. So the biggest hurdle is actually getting into the city. We got home from the Bronx in 3.5 hours flat from New York City on a Sunday morning. So the proximity to so many different areas is so convenient, and just kind of having access to that is something that's really cool about being here in the area. So, all right, everyone, thank you so much for watching. I know these are totally random, but just want to give you some thoughts about some kind of cool things, not things that everyone is talking about. That's kind of cool about living here in the central Maryland area. If you ever have any questions, need anything at all, please feel free to reach out, and we will see you with the next video.